10 ancient discoveries that shocked the world, and you'll never understand why they exist. A statue of a goddess with mysterious gemstone inlaid eyes that seem to stare directly at the living even after more than 5,000 years. An ancient city perched dangerously along a cliffside that makes anyone who sees it believe it was built by a lost civilization. A lead coffin opened after nearly 2,000 years, revealing strange burial rituals never seen before. These ancient structures have existed for thousands of years, yet even today, scientists still cannot understand how people of that era were able to build them. The more archaeologists study and excavate these discoveries, the more confused and fascinated they become. And even now, these mysteries continue to spark debate among modern scientists, with no clear explanation ever fully agreed upon. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Ancient History, the channel that uncovers the most fascinating mysteries of the past. In today's video, we're going to explore 10 of the most shocking archaeological discoveries ever found around the world. From ancient cities forgotten by time, to mysterious Roman burial rituals, to incredible structures that existed long before humanity had modern technology. Every location on this list holds astonishing secrets that force scientists to rethink the history of mankind. And trust me, the closer you get to the end of this video, the more you'll start to feel that there may still be countless things about humanity's past that we don't truly understand yet. So, are you ready to explore these mysteries with me? If you are, then let's begin with the very first discovery right now. The Ghost ship that sank with 40 tons of treasure, a 500-year-old secret beneath the African Sea finally revealed. For nearly 500 years, beneath the cold, dark waters off the coast of West Africa, an ancient ship carrying an enormous fortune rested silently like a ghost forgotten by history. No one knew exactly what had happened to it. No one imagined that beneath layers of sand and coral remains lay one of the greatest hidden treasures of the age of exploration. Then, in 2008, researchers discovered a shipwreck beneath the ocean off the coast of Namibia, a nation in southwestern Africa, and the archaeological world was left almost speechless. Because the ship did not merely contain ordinary gold or gemstones. It carried nearly 40 tons of treasure and valuable cargo from the 16th century. The ship was the Bom Jesus, the famous ghost ship that mysteriously vanished in 1533. According to international researchers, Bom Jesus was a Portuguese trading vessel operating along commercial routes connecting Europe, Africa, and Asia during the height of the great maritime empires. In the 16th century, ships like the Bom Jesus were often loaded with gold, silver, ivory, and precious gems while crossing the oceans to trade goods between continents. But during a voyage in 1533, the Bom Jesus disappeared completely off the coast of West Africa. No trace, no distress signal. For centuries, it became a mystery buried beneath the ocean floor. That was until 2008, when diamond miners working along the coast of Namibia accidentally discovered wooden fragments, gold coins, and remains of an ancient ship buried beneath the sand. Subsequent excavations quickly confirmed the truth. This was indeed the Bom Jesus, the ship that had vanished for nearly half a millennium. And what astonished everyone most was the enormous treasure that still remained inside the wreck. According to archaeologists, the Bom Jesus carried nearly 40 tons of valuable cargo, including gold, silver, ancient coins, jewelry, and especially hundreds of massive elephant tusks. The scene on the seafloor looked exactly like something from a pirate legend. Gold coins scattered through the sand, huge ivory tusks piled among the decaying remains of the ship, and all of it had rested silently beneath the African Sea for almost 500 years. The recovery process for the ship and its artifacts lasted many years because most of the wreck had been severely damaged by time and seawater. However, the surviving objects helped scientists uncover many new secrets about ancient trade networks. The most remarkable discoveries were the more than 100 elephant tusks found aboard the ship. At first, many people assumed they were simply ordinary trade goods, but after conducting ancient DNA analysis, scientists uncovered something shocking. Aida de Flaming from the University of Illinois explained that the research team used ancient genetic techniques to determine the origins of the ivory. The results revealed that the tusks belonged to African forest elephants, scientifically known as Loxodonta cyclotis. Even more surprising, These elephants once lived in coastal African savannas before being hunted extensively. The discovery changed previous assumptions in zoology. For a long time, many scientists believed African forest elephants primarily lived deep within tropical rainforests. But the ivory found aboard the Bom Jesus showed that their ancestors had inhabited coastal savannas much earlier than previously thought. A shipwreck from 1533 had somehow helped modern humanity better understand African ecosystems from centuries ago. That is the incredible power of archaeology. But behind the treasure lies a tragic story, because those enormous elephant tusks also stand as evidence of humanity's brutal exploitation of nature. During that era, ivory was an extremely valuable commodity in both Europe and Asia. Thousands of elephants were killed simply to satisfy greed and enrich wealthy merchants. According to researchers, many ancient elephant populations eventually disappeared completely after centuries of relentless hunting. The conservation efforts of the 20th century became little more than a final ray of hope before many species faced permanent extinction in the wild. And in a strange way, the Bom Jesus became an accidental time machine, preserving the final traces of part of that history beneath the ocean floor. Today, the wreck of the Bom Jesus is not only a priceless archaeological treasure, it is also a chilling reminder of human greed. A ship once filled with gold, silver, and ivory, once seen as a symbol of wealth and power, ultimately sank to the bottom of the sea, taking all of its secrets with it for nearly 500 years. The 18,000-year-old Bone City in Ukraine. In the freezing plains of the Cherkasy region in central Ukraine, archaeologists recently uncovered a discovery that stunned the scientific world. It was neither a stone castle nor an ancient pyramid, but houses built entirely from the bones of gigantic mammoths, structures that have survived for nearly 18,000 years since the harshest period of the Ice Age. Just imagining it is enough to send chills down your spine. In a world covered in endless snow, prehistoric humans used the skeletons of enormous beasts to build shelters for survival. What is even more astonishing is that these structures were far from primitive, unlike what many people once assumed about prehistoric societies. According to a new study published in the scientific journal Open Research Europe, archaeologists analyzed 4 unusual structures discovered at the Meza archaeological site. The structures were circular in shape, ranging in size from around 130 to more than 250 square feet, and were carefully constructed by stacking mammoth bones on top of one another. Even after remaining buried underground for tens of thousands of years, the structures are still remarkably well preserved. This allowed scientists to conclude that these were not random piles of bones, but intentionally designed constructions. The research team, led by archaeologist Wei Chu of Leiden University, spent years studying these so-called bone buildings, and the final results genuinely surprised them. At least one of the structures appears to have been used by humans for as long as 429 years. That means this was not simply a temporary overnight shelter, but a place revisited and maintained by multiple generations of ancient people over centuries. Around the structures, archaeologists also uncovered countless traces showing that Ice Age life here was once incredibly active. They found storage pits for tools, evidence of hunting weapons, and jewelry crafted from mammoth ivory and animal bones. In addition, the site preserved signs of animal butchering, primitive tool-making workshops, and everyday activities of ancient communities. Together, these discoveries paint a vivid picture of a prehistoric society that may seem savage at first glance, but in reality possessed a surprisingly advanced level of organization. However, the deeper scientists investigated, the more they uncovered a haunting truth. These bone houses were not permanent cities or long-term settlements. Although they were used across generations, each stay appears to have lasted only a short period of time. This suggests that Ice Age humans likely had to constantly migrate in order to hunt and survive in the brutal environment. Whenever the cold became unbearable, they returned to these mammoth bone shelters to protect themselves against the deadly Ice Age conditions. Hearing this really makes you realize just how incredible our ancestors truly were. In an era without metal, without cement, and without even fully developed wheels, they were still capable of building structures that survived for nearly 20 millennia. The massive mammoth bones were not merely leftovers from hunts, but became construction materials that helped humans endure one of the deadliest periods in Earth's history. That is why the discovery at Meza is now considered one of the clearest pieces of evidence, showing that ancient humans were not nearly as primitive as we often imagine. They knew how to calculate, how to build, how to use natural resources, and most importantly, they knew how to adapt in order to survive. 15,000-year-old mammoth trap system in Mexico. Did you know that hidden beneath the dry soil of the town of Tultepec in Mexico, about 25 miles north of Mexico City, lies a secret that has shocked archaeologists for many years? That secret is a prehistoric hunting battlefield created by humans around 15,000 years ago. And the most terrifying part is that these ancient hunters were not facing small animals or ordinary prey, but gigantic mammoths, multi-ton creatures that once dominated the Ice Age. This discovery was made by experts from the National Institute of Anthropology and History during excavations in Tultepec. At first, they only uncovered a pit with an unusual shape and size, but the deeper they dug, the more strange evidence began to appear. Massive curved tusks, leg bones as thick as tree trunks, and countless bone fragments piled beneath the earth made the research team realize they were standing before something far more extraordinary than they had imagined. After months of continuous excavation, archaeologists recovered a total of 824 bones belonging to at least 14 Pleistocene-era mammoths. The sheer number of bones alone was enough to stun the scientific community. But even more remarkable was the fact that all of the bones were found inside the enormous pit. This strongly suggests that the site was almost certainly created as a mammoth hunting trap rather than a natural sinkhole, as many people once believed. Just imagine this for a moment. Around 15,000 years ago, when humans lived in extremely harsh conditions without machinery or modern weapons, they still managed to come up with the idea of digging gigantic pits to trap creatures weighing several tons. A single charge from a mammoth could easily kill an entire hunting group. Yet ancient humans did not choose to fight these beasts head-on. Instead, they used intelligence to turn the landscape itself into a weapon. Isn't that fascinating? According to archaeologist Luis Cordoba Baradas, the pit discovered in Tultepec may have been only one part of an entire chain of traps spread throughout the area. The hunters likely worked together in coordinated groups, shouting while using spears and fire to drive herds of mammoths in a carefully planned direction. Once the terrified animals began to flee, they would run straight into deep pits hidden beneath camouflage. But what surprised scientists even more was that the plan appeared to be far more sophisticated than anyone expected. If a mammoth suddenly changed direction and escaped the first trap, the hunters would continue driving it toward the next pit. This suggests a highly organized hunting system, carefully designed to maximize hunting success while minimizing human risk and effort. Because of this, the discovery completely changed the scientific view of prehistoric humans. In the past, many believed our ancestors hunted mostly on instinct and relied heavily on luck. But the evidence found at Tultepec proves the opposite. Ancient humans clearly understood teamwork, recognized mammoth migration and behavior patterns, and even developed effective hunting strategies similar to a carefully planned ambush. For Ice Age communities, every mammoth brought down was an incredibly valuable source of survival. Its meat helped entire tribes endure freezing winters. Its thick hide provided protection from the cold, while its bones and tusks became materials for tools and shelters. In many ways, mammoths were not just prey. They were the key to human survival in the brutal prehistoric world. And from this ancient pit in Tultepec, Mexico, an astonishing truth has been revealed. Tens of thousands of years before civilization appeared, our ancestors already understood strategic thinking, cooperation, and the power of intelligence to defeat creatures far stronger than themselves. Today, these mammoth hunting pits are not merely archaeological remains, but proof of just how extraordinary and terrifying the human survival instinct has been since the earliest days of human history. What do you think? Or do you have a different perspective on this discovery? If so, don't hesitate to leave a comment below and share your thoughts with everyone. 11,500-year-old structure in Turkey, 7,000 years older than Stonehenge, may force history to be rewritten. Amid the barren hills of Şanlıurfa province in Turkey, archaeologists are gradually uncovering a secret that could completely change everything humanity once believed about the history of civilization. That secret is called Mendik Tepe, an ancient archaeological site located near Göbekli Tepe. the famous location considered one of the oldest structures in the world. But what has shocked scientists is that Mendik Tepe may actually be even older than Göbekli Tepe, and around 7,000 years older than Stonehenge in the United Kingdom. Excavations at Mendik Tepe officially began in 2024 in the rural area of Payamlo, within the Ayubiye district of Şanlıurfa province. And in only a short time, the discoveries beneath the ground have nearly forced archaeologists to rewrite the history of humanity's earliest settled communities. What was found here was not merely a few simple stone tools or primitive traces of daily life. Instead, researchers uncovered an entire massive architectural complex dating back around 11,500 years. At that time, humanity had not yet invented the wheel, had no metal tools, and had not even formed true cities. Yet at Mendik Tepe, ancient humans appear to have already known how to organize communal living, construct stone buildings, and even show signs of primitive agriculture. All of this strongly proves one thing: people of that era were incredibly intelligent, weren't they? Of course, the discoveries do not stop there. What makes Mendik Tepe even more remarkable is its architectural style, which is completely different from nearby Göbekli Tepe. While Göbekli Tepe is famous for its finely carved T-shaped stone pillars, archaeologists at Mendik Tepe discovered upright rectangular stone blocks with a very distinct design. This difference has led experts to believe that the region may represent a separate culture that existed tens of thousands of years ago. Since excavations began in 2024, the research team has uncovered a series of oval-shaped structures and remarkably sophisticated stone walls. They also found fragments of ancient stone vessels, showing that the people living there were not only skilled builders, but also possessed an astonishing level of craftsmanship for the Neolithic period. According to project coordinator Nekmi Karul, Mendik Tepe is an extremely important site for understanding the earliest settled communities in the region. And the deeper scientists investigate, the more they realize this was not simply an ordinary settlement. Some of the smaller structures, only a few square yards in size, are believed to have been used for food storage or processing. Medium-sized buildings may have served as homes for ancient residents. But the most remarkable structures are the larger ones, standing between approximately 13 and 16 feet tall, built with extraordinary stone craftsmanship. Researchers believe these may have been used for spiritual rituals or communal activities, evidence that society at the time had already begun developing organization and clear divisions of function. And the discoveries continue. Preliminary research now suggests that Mendik Tepe may belong to a very early phase of the Neolithic era, possibly even predating both Göbekli Tepe and Karahan Tepe, another famous ancient Turkish site known for its human-shaped stone pillars. Thousand-year-old soup pot inside an ancient Chinese tomb vanished in seconds, leaving archaeologists terrified. Deep beneath an ancient tomb in China, archaeologists witnessed such a strange phenomenon that many of those present have never forgotten it. It was not a deadly trap, nor a mysterious mummy's curse, but an ancient dish that suddenly disappeared before their eyes in just a matter of seconds. It was a moment both unbelievable and haunting, as if the past from thousands of years ago had briefly returned, only to vanish again right in front of modern humanity. Everything began when experts started excavating a thousand-year-old tomb. While clearing away layers of soil around the burial site, they discovered an ancient pot that remained almost completely intact. At first, no one imagined that what was inside the pot would become one of the strangest discoveries ever related to ancient cuisine. However, when the lid was opened, the entire excavation team nearly froze in silence. Inside the pot was a darkened broth that had changed color over time, and floating within it were slices of lotus root that still retained their shape surprisingly well. Just think about that for a moment. A dish cooked thousands of years ago, resting silently inside a tomb for centuries, and still surviving to the present day. That fact alone already makes the discovery almost impossible to believe, doesn't it? Since ancient times, lotus root has been an extremely familiar ingredient in Chinese culinary culture. It appeared not only in ordinary meals, but was also loved by nobles and royalty. Even the Qianlong emperor of the Qing dynasty once wrote poetry praising the food with the famous description, "Lotus root is as soft and delicate as jade." This shows how special such a simple dish once was in the lives of ancient people. But not long after the discovery, something happened that sent chills through everyone at the site. As an archaeologist carefully lifted the pot for a closer inspection, the lotus root slices inside suddenly began to disintegrate. At first, tiny cracks appeared across the surface, but in the blink of an eye, the entire slices seemed to dissolve into the air. They disappeared so quickly that no one had time to react. A photographer at the scene immediately raised his camera and managed to capture a single rare image. But before he could take a second shot, every slice of lotus root inside the pot had completely vanished without a trace. The scene genuinely gave everyone goosebumps. A dish had survived thousands of years of history, only to fail to survive even a few seconds once exposed to the modern world. So what exactly caused this? To solve the mystery, archaeologists and paleobiologists began studying the phenomenon, and the explanation they provided sounded both scientific and deeply unsettling. According to experts, the plant fibers inside the lotus root slices had undergone extreme aging after thousands of years inside the sealed environment of the ancient tomb. They existed in an incredibly fragile state, almost like an object frozen in time. For thousands of years, the structure of the lotus root had remained intact thanks to the unique conditions inside the tomb. But the moment the pot was moved and exposed to outside air, the entire structure immediately collapsed. Even the slightest vibration was enough to cause the lotus root slices to crumble into fine dust and disappear completely. Hearing this makes archaeology seem even stranger than a movie sometimes, doesn't it? Some artifacts remain untouched beneath the earth for thousands of years and still survive intact. Yet others vanish the instant they come into contact with the light of the present, as if they had never existed at all. And that ancient lotus root soup pot revealed something very human and ordinary about the ancient world. People in the past did not only build tombs or create precious treasures, they also brought familiar foods with them into their final resting places. That alone shows just how deeply food has been connected to human life for thousands of years. Now, although those mysterious lotus root slices have disappeared forever, the single photograph captured in time still remains as haunting evidence. It reminds us that sometimes history does not disappear completely. It simply waits for the perfect moment to appear, before quietly fading away once again before human eyes. Mohenjo-Daro, the ancient city with no palaces, no kings, and the civilization that made history question itself. Amid the dry, scorching lands of Sindh province in Pakistan lie the ruins of an ancient city that has puzzled archaeologists for decades. That city is Mohenjo-Daro, one of the oldest urban centers in the world, belonging to the Indus Valley civilization. But what makes this place truly remarkable is not just its age, but the fact that it seems to completely defy the typical pattern followed by most ancient civilizations throughout human history. You see, when a society begins to grow and prosper, power usually becomes concentrated in the hands of the wealthy and ruling classes. Massive palaces, enormous temples, and luxurious tombs are built to display status and authority, while ordinary people are often left living in small, crowded homes. That has been the common formula of many ancient civilizations, from Egypt to countless great empires around the world. But Mohenjo-Daro was completely different. This ancient Bronze Age city covered an area of approximately 593 acres. What is astonishing is how modern its urban planning appears, despite the fact that it existed more than 4,000 years ago. Its streets were laid out in an organized grid pattern, dividing the city into clearly structured sections. Not only that, Mohenjo-Daro possessed an incredibly sophisticated brick drainage system, large public bathhouses, storage facilities, and numerous structures designed to serve the daily needs of its residents. Just hearing that alone already sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? A city from thousands of years ago, yet planned in a way that resembles a modern urban center. And what shocked scientists even more came from new research published in the journal Antiquity. Archaeologists from the University of York reconstructed the development of Mohenjo-Daro from around 2600 BC to 1900 BC, the period before the city was mysteriously abandoned. During their research, the team discovered something extremely surprising. Normally, as a city develops, the gap between rich and poor grows larger. The homes of the wealthy become bigger and more luxurious, while poorer residents struggle more and more. But in Mohenjo-Daro, the opposite appears to have happened. The difference in size between the largest and smallest houses in the city did not increase over time. It actually became smaller. This suggests that economic inequality in Mohenjo-Daro may have decreased as the city continued to grow. At a time when most civilizations were building pyramids, palaces, and gigantic tombs for kings and rulers, the people of Mohenjo-Daro were investing their effort into drainage systems, communal spaces, and infrastructure that benefited the entire population. Isn't that something incredibly rare in ancient history? According to Adam Green, the lead author of the study, while ancient Egyptians focused on constructing pyramids and many other civilizations built enormous temples and palaces to demonstrate power, Mohenjo-Daro appears to have chosen a completely different path. The city prioritized infrastructure that improved everyday life for all residents, rather than creating extravagant monuments reserved for the elite. And that is why Mohenjo-Daro contains almost none of the giant palaces, luxurious tombs, or grand monuments dedicated to powerful rulers that are commonly found in other civilizations from the same era. Mohenjo-Daro feels like a strange exception in human history. It was an ancient society that may not have been heavily divided by wealth and class, a thriving city that did not place power and displays of status at the center of its identity. Instead, its people focused on improving life for the community as a whole. That may have been the very reason Mohenjo-Daro remained prosperous for centuries before the city was eventually abandoned for reasons that still remain a mystery today. So what about you? Would you want to live in a city where there was no major divide between social classes and wealth like this one? If you would, leave a comment below and let's see how many people share the same idea. The secret city inside the cliffs of Colorado, a place many people spent 700 years believing was an alien ruin. Imagine this for a moment. You're walking through a barren mountain landscape when you suddenly spot hundreds of ancient homes clinging deep within steep cliff walls. What do you think you would feel in that moment? Shock, amazement, confusion? Probably all of them at once, right? And that was exactly what American explorers and cowboys experienced in the late 19th century when they first discovered Mesa Verde National Park, the famous archaeological site filled with hundreds of ancient structures built deep inside enormous cliff faces. The scene was so strange that many people believed they were standing before the ruins of a lost world forgotten by time. From a distance, the ancient stone structures blend almost perfectly into the massive red sandstone cliffs. They sit hidden deep inside dark rock alcoves at dizzying heights that would make even modern visitors feel uneasy. And what is truly astonishing is that this entire hanging city was built more than 700 years ago by the ancestors of the ancient Pueblo people. The name Mesa Verde comes from Spanish and means green plateau, describing the elevated tree-covered land surrounded by the semi-arid regions of the western United States. But what made this place famous around the world was not its scenery. It was the evidence of an ancient culture that once lived here hundreds of years ago under incredibly harsh conditions. According to archaeologists, the ancient Pueblo people used natural alcoves beneath the cliffs to build homes, food storage rooms, and ceremonial spaces. This architectural style not only protected them from the scorching daytime heat and kept them warm at night, but also created an extremely effective natural defense against enemies. The most famous structure in all of Mesa Verde is Cliff Palace, the largest ancient building ever discovered there. Seen from afar, Cliff Palace looks exactly like a hidden fortress buried deep within the mountainside. The complex contains more than 150 rooms along with dozens of kivas, circular ceremonial chambers built underground. What makes the site even more impressive is that the entire structure was built using sandstone, wood, and handmade mortar. There was no concrete, no steel, and no modern cranes. Yet the walls have survived for centuries, despite Colorado's harsh climate. Archaeologists believe Cliff Palace once served as an extremely important social and ceremonial center for the ancient Pueblo community. It was not simply a residential area, but also a place for cultural events, spiritual rituals, and communal activities. But like many mysterious ancient civilizations, Mesa Verde leaves behind a question that scientists have debated for years. Why did the people suddenly abandon these cliffside cities near the end of the 13th century? Even today, no one knows the true answer for certain. Some theories suggest the region suffered severe long-term droughts that slowly depleted water and food supplies. Other theories point to social conflict or environmental changes that forced the Pueblo people to leave in order to survive. However, the modern descendants of the Pueblo people do not see Mesa Verde as a lost city, like the mysterious legends often describe it. To them, it is sacred ancestral land deeply connected to the cultural origins and history of their people. Lead coffin and precious artifacts found inside an ancient Roman tomb. Hidden deep beneath the foundation of an old hospital in the city of Colchester in the United Kingdom, archaeologists uncovered an ancient Roman tomb containing secrets that astonished the entire research community. There was no mountain of gold or silver, no terrifying ancient curse, but instead a beautifully decorated lead coffin that still preserved the nearly intact remains of a Roman noblewoman who died almost 2,000 years ago. What makes the discovery even more remarkable is that it happened completely by accident. In 2023, archaeologists were excavating the site of a former hospital in Colchester as part of a redevelopment project to transform the area into housing. During the work, they unexpectedly discovered traces of an ancient burial ground hidden deep underground. At first, no one imagined that beneath those layers of soil and stone lay one of the most intact and extraordinary Roman tombs found in Colchester in many years. But when the final layer of earth was cleared away, the team came face to face with an elaborately decorated lead coffin. The carved patterns on its surface were still surprisingly visible despite the passing of centuries. The use of lead alone already suggested that the owner of the tomb was certainly no ordinary person. In ancient Roman times, coffins like this were usually reserved only for the wealthy or people of extremely high social status. But what shocked archaeologists even more was what they found inside. When the coffin was opened, they discovered the skeletal remains of a Roman woman, along with a collection of valuable grave goods still resting beside her body. Among the items were an exquisitely crafted black stone hairpin, several rare glass vessels, and expensive aromatic resins once used in ancient rituals. According to the Colchester Archaeological Trust, this is one of the most fascinating Roman tombs they have studied in recent years. Adam Whiteman, Director of Archaeology at the Colchester Archaeological Trust, stated that the combination of the lead coffin, grave goods, and scientific evidence has made this discovery one of the most intact and exceptional Roman burials ever found in the Colchester area. Experts believe the woman buried inside belonged to the upper class of Roman society. She is believed to have died in her late 20s or early 30s. At that time, the Roman Empire still controlled the territory that is now modern-day Britain. Although the exact date of her death has not yet been fully determined, archaeologists believe she may have been buried during the later Roman period in Britain, roughly between the late 3rd century and early 5th century. Beside the remains, archaeologists discovered several rare aromatic substances, including frankincense, a dried resin extracted from boswellia trees that grow in Africa, the Middle East, and India. In ancient times, frankincense was an extremely expensive material, commonly used in religious ceremonies and believed to possess healing properties. But the mystery did not end there. Experts also discovered traces of plaster inside the coffin. This suggests the woman's body may have been covered in a layer of liquid plaster before burial. This was a ritual occasionally practiced for members of the upper class during the Roman period in Britain. According to researchers, the plaster not only carried ceremonial significance, but may also have helped preserve the body in an almost intact condition for an extremely long time under suitable environmental conditions. Because of this, the discovery is far more than simply the excavation of an ancient tomb. It is like opening a doorway directly into the lives of Roman aristocrats who once lived in Britain nearly 2 millennia ago. Today, the lead coffin and the valuable artifacts discovered inside it have been officially displayed to the public beginning on May 16th. If you ever have the opportunity, you may want to visit and see this mysterious coffin with your own eyes. The 5,000-year-old Jade-eyed goddess statue that shocked Chinese archaeologists. You know, the world of archaeology is incredibly fascinating. Sometimes discoveries amaze people because of their historical value, but other times, certain finds send chills down people's spines from the very first moment they see them. And the goddess statue unearthed at the New Heliang archaeological site in China is one of those discoveries. Amid a desolate mountain region covered in dirt, rocks, and ancient remains, archaeologists accidentally uncovered a bright red face with jade-inlaid eyes that still carried an intense, piercing expression despite being more than 5,000 years old. The New Heliang site has long been recognized as one of the most important archaeological locations of the Hongshan culture, a Neolithic civilization that once existed in northeastern China thousands of years ago. Dating back more than 5,000 years, the site is considered a key to understanding the spiritual beliefs of ancient Asian communities. During the excavation, researchers uncovered an enormous ceremonial complex that included a goddess temple, sacrificial altars, and ancient stone mounds built with remarkable organization and precision. The sheer scale of the site stunned archaeologists because it proved that the Hongshan people were far from being a simple primitive society, as many earlier theories had suggested. More than 5 millennia ago, while many parts of the world were still home to scattered groups of humans living in small communities, this region already contained large-scale spiritual and ceremonial structures. That alone suggests they possessed social organization, spiritual beliefs, and astonishing construction abilities. In addition to the ancient architecture, numerous Neolithic artifacts were also discovered beneath the ground, including pottery, stone tools, animal bones, and exquisitely crafted jade objects. With the help of modern survey equipment, experts determined that the entire area had once served as an extremely important ceremonial center of the Hongshan culture. But then an unexpected incident changed the direction of the excavation completely. According to records from the archaeological team, one evening while moving through a muddy area filled with standing water, an archaeologist suddenly slipped and fell into deep mud. As he tried to grab onto nearby rocks to pull himself back up, his hand touched a strange, hard object. Under the dim moonlight, the object looked exactly like a human face. The other team members immediately rushed over to help and carefully pulled the object out of the mud. When flashlights illuminated it, everyone nearly froze in shock. It was not a mask. It was an ancient statue with a red-painted face, jade-inlaid eyes, and incredibly lifelike facial features. Even after being buried for thousands of years, the statue still radiated an indescribable sense of authority. The jade eyes reflected the faint light in a way that made the face appear almost alive. Several members of the team later described the moment as deeply unsettling, as though they had accidentally awakened a secret that had been sleeping for thousands of years. And in fact, after careful study, experts confirmed that this was the famous goddess statue of the Hongshan culture. Some researchers believe the statue may have been modeled after Nuwa, the goddess in Chinese mythology who is said to have created humanity. What astonished archaeologists even more was the statue's size, which is nearly life-sized. The facial details were crafted so skillfully that many experts concluded the artistic abilities of the Hongshan people were far more advanced than previously believed. This discovery quickly became a major turning point in Chinese archaeological research. It not only proved that the Hongshan people possessed a highly developed belief system, but also demonstrated that they had mastered sophisticated jade-working techniques and advanced sculptural art thousands of years ago. But the more scientists study this culture, the more mysteries they uncover. Why did the Hongshan people build massive temples in remote mountain regions? Who were they truly worshipping? And what caused their entire civilization to gradually disappear from history? Even today, those questions remain unanswered. What we do know is that the Jade-eyed goddess statue is currently preserved at the Liaoning Provincial Institute of Archaeology, and despite surviving for more than 5,000 years, those mysterious jade eyes still leave many people with the unsettling feeling that they are silently guarding a secret modern humanity has not yet learned how to fully understand. The Roman city forgotten by time in the mountains of North Africa, where ancient stone columns are still telling stories after 2,000 years. Amid the rugged mountain ranges of northeastern Algeria lies an ancient city where many visitors feel as though time stopped thousands of years ago the moment they arrive. There are no sounds of traffic, no crowds of tourists pushing past one another, only the cold mountain wind blowing through gigantic stone columns that have stood there for nearly 2 millennia. This is Jamila, an ancient Roman city that once flourished in North Africa before gradually being forgotten by history. Although it was once a highly developed Roman city, Jamila today carries a sense of loneliness that is difficult to describe. Its enormous public squares, stone-paved roads, and ancient temples still remain almost perfectly preserved among the quiet mountains, making it feel as though the entire city has been sleeping beneath the dust of time. Jamila, whose ancient name was Kuikul, is considered one of the best preserved Roman heritage sites in North Africa. The city sits at an elevation of approximately 2,950 feet above sea level, deep within Algeria's rugged mountain terrain. And it is precisely this unusual location that gives Jamila its unique atmosphere: majestic, peaceful, and deeply mysterious. According to historians, the city was founded by the Romans near the end of the 1st century AD. At first, it served mainly as a settlement for Roman military veterans after war. But thanks to its strategic location and favorable natural conditions, Kuikul quickly developed into a thriving urban center of the Roman Empire in North Africa. Nearly 2,000 years ago, in the middle of those remote mountains, the Romans built an entire city complete with grand plazas, public bathhouses, temples, and an impressively organized road system. What makes it even more remarkable is that they had to adapt to steep mountainous terrain rather than the wide flat plains where most Roman cities were traditionally built. That challenge gave Jamila a truly distinctive architectural design. Instead of a simple wide-open layout, the city was carefully constructed across multiple levels of terrain. Stone roads weave through residential areas, leading toward public squares and civic buildings positioned between the mountain slopes. Even after centuries, the marks left behind by ancient chariot wheels can still be seen carved into the stone streets. Today, when walking through those ruins, many people feel as though they only need to close their eyes to hear the sounds of a once bustling Roman city. The voices of merchants, the pounding of horse hooves, the sound of flowing water inside the public baths, it all seems to linger somewhere among the weathered stones. One of the features that most impresses archaeologists at Jamila is its remarkably well-preserved mosaic artwork. These mosaics are not only artistically beautiful, but also vividly portray the daily life, beliefs, and culture of the ancient Roman residents. From mythological imagery to scenes of everyday activities, everything was assembled from thousands of tiny stone pieces with astonishing precision. This reveals that the people who lived here once possessed a highly advanced cultural and artistic life. But Jamila does not tell only the story of the Romans. As the Roman Empire gradually weakened, the city continued to evolve under the influence of Christianity. New religious structures appeared, including basilicas and Christian worship centers. This blending of cultures transformed Jamila into a living record of multiple historical eras, unfolding one after another. Researchers believe this is not merely an archaeological site, but also a place that reflects the transformation of an entire civilization across centuries. As you can see, after all of these discoveries, perhaps the most frightening thing is not the ancient mummies, the abandoned cities, or the thousands of years old structures, but the fact that modern humans still cannot fully understand just how intelligent and mysterious our ancestors truly were. Every ancient ruin is like a missing piece of human history. The more we learn, the more questions we seem to uncover instead of answers. And who knows? Right at this very moment, somewhere beneath the ground on this planet, there may still be ancient secrets lying undiscovered, waiting for humanity to awaken them. Do you think so too? Or do you have a different perspective on all of this? If you do, don't hesitate to leave a comment down below. And don't forget to subscribe to the Ancient History channel and turn on notifications so you never miss any upcoming videos. For now, goodbye, and I'll see you in the next video.